literally just got out of the water, and I needed a quick sort of like refresh and reset. So I just jumped in, you know, got a couple of waves, and there was no one out for a reason because it was freaking wild. And yeah, so my hair is going to be drying throughout this session. So by the end of our talk, it'll probably dry. Flow, and it's all working perfectly.
I love it. It's so
Yeah,
epic.
it's beautiful. Anyway, Garth, hello. I hijacked the first few minutes. I wanted to say hello to you, officially welcome you, and thank you so much for saying yes to having this conversation. It's such an honor,
Mm,
and it's good to
such a
reconnect with you as well.
such a pleasure,
Mm.
such an honor to be sitting here and seeing your beautiful face again and to connect and I love it so much.
Yeah, yeah, I can't wait for this chat. I can feel the energy is rising, and there's going to be so much interesting stuff to talk about. You are the person who initiated me into ice baths, and you got me hooked, and it was just such a an important moment in my life. It happened this year, early this year in Australia, and it's very much connected to the topic that I want to talk about today as well, which is burnout and trauma, and you know the work that you do. So yeah, I'm so excited to have you in this conversation, and I can't wait to explore more about the stuff that you do. um, I would love for you to perhaps maybe let's start, like let's jump in and talk more about that ice bath and why do you do it. And I still remember the stuff you told me when before I went in, and you know, like imagine that this is that moment that you're trying to run away. Maybe let's start with that and just like give us a bit of a yeah, like why are you even doing this, and like what's the whole ice bath about? What is it?
Yeah, so and the ice bath is such a huge thing. It's been such a transformational, beautiful thing for my life, and that's why I share it with others now. And yeah, the thing that I share before everyone gets into the ice bath every time is to recognize that when you get into that ice, your body and your mind are going to say, "Get out! We're going to die. Get out of the ice. Get out! You're going to die. Get out!" And if you listen to that voice in your head and you listen to your body saying get out, even though you know, like your prefrontal cortex, you cognitively know, logically know that it's not going to kill you, and yet everything in your body tells you to get out.
Yeah.
And then when you are the one that's beyond that, watching those thoughts, and you can hear the thoughts and see your body going get out, and you have that moment to decide, do you listen to your mind and your body and jump out, or do you
Mm.
stay in? And so when your body and your mind say, how many times in the day does your body and your mind say, "Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I want to get out of this. Oh, I don't want to do this." And how
Mm.
often do you listen? And so to step in the ice and to be able to overcome that, to be able to see it happening, and then choose a different option, which is to sit in the discomfort no matter what. And if you can
Mm.
overcome that in the ice, then what else could you overcome in your life when your mind and your body tell you not to do something, even though you know it's good for you?
So good. So
Mm.
powerful. Yeah, yeah, that's amazing.
When it's like, that's why I kept doing it, like above and beyond all of the benefits that come with ice bars, which is many, and there's lots of great things that come from it, right? All of that stuff doesn't even matter because the logical mind doesn't want to do that,
Mm.
right? It's like, I want to get out. And the one reason that keeps me going with it, the one thing that keeps me getting in the ice, is that every day when I get into that ice bath, when my mind and my body say, "No, get out, we're going to die," and I say, "No," when I say jump, we jump, you listen to me, not the other way around. And then I get in,
Mm.
and then I just sit there, and then I let go, and I allow the mind and body to shut up. Then the rest of the day, my mind and body listen to me, and I can do more with my life. So,
Yeah, beautiful.
mm,
Oh, I had such a transformational experience from that morning. We did it, you know, with the sunrise, and you also took us through a breathwork session, a couple actually, some meditations that we did. Um, I felt so strongly about it that I had to go see you the next day, and I was like, "Hey, I need to tell you about what happened for me." I'm just wondering, like for other people. what did you notice are the main kind of benefits, or like what are people coming back to you with, like telling you, you know, what did they experience? What was the kind of benefit for them to do this?
So different for everybody.
Mm.
The biggest thing is that when you go to get into the ice, you get to see how you show up in your life in every majorly stressful situation, because there's almost nothing that's as stressful on the body and the mind as hopping in the ice and stepping into that. And so that triggers the automatic response: fight, flight, freeze, fawn, like whatever that may be that you normally do on a larger scale that you don't normally notice happens in there. So yeah, it's different for everyone. I mean, the biggest one, like when people go through it, I had one amazing woman who does a lot of the spiritual and conscious work, and she came and joined me, and she got in and she was straight out. Like she was in, I can't do it out, because she listened to the mind.
Yeah.
And then she went off to the side and she was crying, and I went and sat with her and I just talked to her, and I was like, what could this mean for you in your life? You know, I'm not saying you need to do it. I'm not forcing you into it, but if you could overcome this now, what could that mean for you in all these other areas? And long story short, she decided to go again. She went in, she sat in there, and then she breathed. I stayed with her, and she breathed and she let go. And it was huge for her to be able to go through that, to be able to not run, because she'd run in her life a lot. So
yeah
many different things. But
amazing. That's beautiful. Yeah, for me the realization was that, you know, I have everything I need in every stressful situation, and you were kind of outside of that bath, outside of that container, witnessing me making progress through life, and that just gave me this beautiful perspective. For me, this was my dad's related, sort of like the relationship with my father, but it was like generally, you know, the approach to life where we feel like, well, sometimes we feel helpless and in different situations, and we feel like we're dependent on, you know, someone's help, and or we are even kind of like, we can have the opposite response where we just want to fight through everything on our own. And it was just so powerful having you there witnessing, you know, what I was going through, and so reassuring, but you were not interfering. You were there to kind of like hold space and support when needed. For me, that was huge. And I could see how that really plays out in many people's lives and experiences. So yeah.
Definitely. And for me, holding that space, you know, with the facilitation, with everything, all the other work that I do, I'm not there to hold somebody's hand. I'm there to pour energy on them and to encourage them to go, wow, you've got all you need inside.
Awesome.
I just hear like, you've got this.
Yeah.
Help. Some people are like, help me. And I'm like, you've got it all. And then they go, and then they go, oh my God, I've got it all. And it's like,
that's that, right? Yeah, that's what we all need to realize. Oh my God, we just all need like that cheerleader who will be there and cheer on us, but we totally have it inside. And you know, this is definitely in line with my approach to burnout and the work that I started diving into, which is even looking at it as not an illness, not as, you know, your broken kind of attitude, but hey, what's the learning opportunity here? And what, you know, what is this showing you? And you already are everything that you need. Everything's available for you to heal and to get through this. So how can you get more in tune with yourself through that process? So this is beautiful. I absolutely love that we're like, you know, I can just like talk about our alignment for a long time. So this is the energy that is being sort of built in this container, and I would love to dive more into what do you actually do. That's my one question, and my second question is what brought you to what you do. You can feel free to respond to whichever you like first.
Cool. I can yeah, I'll respond to what I do and then to why, because it kind of leads through.
Awesome.
And it's been a challenging question to answer. What do you do? And it's like, well, there's many parts to it, and it's different for every person that comes to me, because everybody's different and everybody comes with something else. So what do I do? And what I've realized, what I call myself now, is a heart wisdom guide. And the thinking behind, the thinking behind it is if you had heard the story, right, that there was this pool of wisdom and that would heal all your ailments in the middle of the Amazon jungle.
Mm-hmm.
You'd found a map and it told you around about where it was. And you went to the edge of the Amazon jungle and it was like maybe, I don't know, a month and a half hiking away in there. Would you step into that jungle and go on that journey by yourself if you've never been into the Amazon before? You wouldn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go and find a guide. And this guide, he's been to that pool of wisdom many times and he knows the road, he knows the dangers, he knows the way to find the path. And so you go out, and as you're going through the jungle, you step on a stick and it cracks and you go, ah, what is that? And he goes, that's just a stick. And then he goes, and then you hear this little like rumbling in the bushes. Ah, what's that? Is it a jaguar? Like, no, that is a squirrel that makes a rumbling sound, you know? And then it's like that bird sound makes the sound that tells you there's danger coming. And then you learn like what you can eat, what you can't eat, what's poisonous, what's not. And along the way, you're picking up these tools and you're learning how to navigate the jungle and find the path with the guide. And then you reach the pool of wisdom and you finally get there, you jump into the pool and you realize that it's just another normal pool. But the journey that you had to go on to get to that pool is what really gave you the healing, by being out in nature, by eating the right foods, by being inquisitive and curious and having purpose with your day. You realized, oh my God, this is what life's about. Then on the way back out of the jungle again, you're even more excited to learn more and more about the jungle. And by the time you exit the jungle, the guide turns around and says, I would trust you to go and find that pool again by yourself. I wouldn't go off into the rest of the jungle just yet, but you need to go and you need to practice the skills. You need to ingrain this more. Listen to the forest, feel the forest, learn what the forest has to teach you. And then when you're ready to go further and to learn more about the forest and the jungle, come and see me. And eventually you keep coming back and you go away and you come back and you go away and you come back until at some point the jungle feels more like home than the city ever did. And so that's what I do.
You take people through the jungle.
I take people through the jungle of life.
Okay. Is this metaphorically or quite literally, or both?
So, well, both, but it's a metaphor for that pool of wisdom that's out in the jungle is actually within you. It's within your soul. And there's a jungle that we have to navigate, which is how we see the world. And that little crack of the stick is that you had an emotional trigger that came up, and it's like realizing, oh, that's not actually life or death. That was just a crack of a stick, a little emotional trigger that happened. And so being able to learn how to navigate those so that you can access that pool of insight, that pool of wisdom and intuition that lives inside. And so because I've been, you know, I had to go on a long journey to learn how to go there. Now I share and walk with people. You know, I don't stand at the sidelines and coach people and go, you're doing a great job. I stand and I go into the jungle and we go through the shit and the mud and the muck together. And because I've gone into those dark places within myself, I'm willing to go there with other people and hold that space as we go into each one and be able to unfold that. And so, and that leads through to why. I mean, because I went on that jungle journey myself and I know how fucking dangerous the jungle is and how going on that journey, like I had depression, I attempted suicide at 19 years old, I had overwhelming anxiety, I was addicted to drugs, I was addicted to alcohol, I was codependent, I used to use sex for validation, you know, I had all these things that I didn't know. Now I know these things, right? I just wondered why I was so freaking miserable. And I just asked questions. I went down the normal tracks. I had antidepressants, they didn't work. And they made it worse. And I was like, okay, how do I find a way out of this? And so I just kept trying to navigate it myself, which kind of worked, but I just stuffed things down even more. And then, and then one piece after another, as I went searching and finding all these different pieces. And then now I realized that there wasn't the way that I had learned it that was there to take people in this process. So I was like, this stuff's way too important and way too powerful to just go on my journey. I want to share this with others. And so, now it's literally, we go into the jungle with the men and the men's work. And we're setting up the rites of passage for young men. And I also do one-to-one clients with women and with men, because when women find out that I know a lot about men, they call me and they go, oh God, this is
totally. Absolutely. That's so important though.
And understanding, I ask the question, what is a man? What is a real man? When do I become a man? And then went on that
Yeah.
journey of discovering that, realizing that nobody knows. So I started finding
Yeah.
out those things and all
Yeah.
these questions. And I was like, I've obsessed so deeply that now it's like, okay, the stuff that I've learned is actually really freaking important. This is the
Mm.
stuff that needs to be shared.
Yes.
Mm.
Oh my God, this brings up so many questions that I want to ask you right now. I'm going to say a couple, and then I also just want to come back to the idea of the burnout, and we can sort of come full circle with that. So, one of the things that's like super interesting for me is, what's the rites of passage? And you're mentioning younger men and, what it even means to be a man. So, I would like to talk about that. Um, I also am very interested in hearing about your own experience and what were the things that you tried, what didn't work and what did work, and what did you eventually put into this package that you're using, as modalities that you work with people. So maybe in other words, what do your events look like? What is the work that you do, in more detail? Yeah, but to start with, like, there's these two questions that I'm like, let's totally talk about this, because this is like, I feel like this is the goal that you can bring in this conversation. I want to ask you, what does burnout mean to you, just to kind of like set, this sort of framework for this conversation.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Like burnout's been as why I'm here, I guess, as we've talked about it before.
Mm.
As I've hit burnout so many times in my life, and some looking like glandular fever, where my body just couldn't take it anymore and said, enough is enough, you're out, you
Mm.
can't do it,
Yeah.
and burnout to me was the point where my body was saying, I cannot do it anymore, I cannot do
Mm-hmm.
this, you're not looking after me, you're not you're not paying attention and taking care of me, so I'm going to make you stop. You
Mm-hmm.
haven't taken any time for yourself to sit and to be with you, so I'm going to make you stop.
Yep.
And yeah, that's looked like me just crashing again and again, where I just have a goal and be focused on it and never feel like I was doing enough towards it. So I just keep going and keep pushing, and I just keep going,
Mm.
going, 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 and then it just crash, and I'm like, no, I need to do more.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah,
can relate. Yeah.
yeah, and
Mm. Mm.
yeah, well, burnout, like now, how, like, if you want me to share too on how what it looks like for me now, trying to
Mhm.
making
Please
sure that
do.
I don't have burnout,
Yeah.
is now I have so much work that I'm extremely passionate about, and it's so easy for me to just keep going with it, and I
Mm-hmm.
forget to do self-care a lot of the time because I get to have conversations like this with you, or I just came off a client session with an amazing human being who I'm like, I
Yeah.
love what I do, and so I'm like, I can keep going. And then if I know that if I continue doing that, though, that if I don't stop and take time for me to reflect and be with myself, then that's going to cost me. So
Mm-hmm.
now, because we all have strategies that we use to create a certain result. If your life is messed up, you've got a strategy to make it messed up. And if you're an
Mm.
achiever, you've got a strategy to be an achiever. And I love working with achievers because I am one. I'm an A-type
Mm-hmm.
personality. And
Mm.
now I've taken, because that's part of my mentality and the way I operate, I'm like, cool, I'm an achiever. So how can I achieve at self-care? How can I achieve at meditation? How can I achieve at these
Awesome.
things?
Yeah.
And I go, cool, that means I need to schedule it. I need to make it important. And I need to
Yes.
use the exact same process, which is going, all right, so what do I need to learn about meditation? I need to learn that there's no outcome, and I need to
Mm.
sit with that. And I'm going to sit here no
Mm.
matter what. Even if I don't get it the first time, I'll do it for a year, and I'm just going to do it. And then one day, ha, and
Mm-hmm.
I take
Mm-hmm.
take the same strategy that I've been using for achievement, and then lock that in on self-care and high achieve at
Mm.
that.
So important. So important. It's interesting you're saying it, because I literally had this conversation with a client yesterday about somehow the burnout sort of, the people who are under the risk of burning out, we tend to prioritize everything outside of us and then deprioritize us, and it's almost like we're even afraid to be with ourselves, and it just feels so foreign to schedule a time for yourself. You're like, what? Like, everyone else's time, all the other meetings are okay to be in the calendar, but to have time for yourself to meditate, it's like, I don't have time for it. That's what most people say. I'm like, busy. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
I love that approach, like taking the same approach you have towards everything else, and the achievement sort of approach towards yourself and to the nurturing of the self. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and like my mornings, nobody can get me before 9 a.m. Everyone knows that. Like my phone's on flight mode, do not disturb, and I'm doing my stuff in the morning. I get
Yeah.
up at 5 a.m. I go and I do my meditation, my breath work, my cold exposure in the ocean or the ice bath. Then I do some form of exercise, whether that be yoga or Muay Thai or whatever that may look like for that particular morning. And then I come back up and I sit down and I have a coffee, and then I write out in my journal, and I write, three things I'm grateful for. And then I plan out my day, and I sit there and I like connect in with my vision, and I'm like, oh, I love my life so much. And then I come to my day and I'm like, I'm full. Doesn't matter what happens today because I've had my time.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of touch on the modalities and the things that you started exploring as you were noticing all these effects on your body and everything that was going on. So what did that journey look like for you, and like what did you then gather that was like really effective and you actually wanted to pass it on to others? Because this like how I live today, that looks amazing, that looks like such an effective, like really good toolkit that you're using. So how did you get there, and what were maybe all the other things that you tried, including substances and sessions and whatever, like other support that you may have gotten? Curious.
So there's so many pieces to it. I think that I'd love to share a little metaphor first though, because so this is a statement and then a metaphor. So the statement is that what I've realized along my journey is that simplicity is on the other side of complexity. I'll say it again. Simplicity is on the other side of complexity. If you think you can just get the little token, oh, I'm one with everything, and then you go, I understand that now, and it's like, no, you don't, because I thought I did, and then I experienced it, and I realized how I had no idea. Or there would be something else I'd read in a book, and then I would have to go through all this other things in my life, all these experiences, all this stuff, all this pain, all these experiences which caused me to then experience it and go, now I get what he was saying. Right, I get that now. I finally actually get it, but without the complexity, I never would have understood the simplicity. So the reason I say that is people want the blue pill. They want the easy way out. They want to just take a pill and go, oh my God, everything's fixed. And it's like, sorry, but that's just another way of finding an escape. So that's not going to happen. And I won't work. And I say to people, I won't work with you if you're not willing to do the work. And it's a lot of work, and it's a huge amount, and I will hold you accountable, but only if you do the work. Simple. And they go, I'll do the work, and then they don't do the work, and I'm like, cool, if you don't do the work anymore, then you're gone. And they're like, oh, but I want to do the thing, and I'm like, cool, then do the work. There is no shortcut. So there's that. And the other one is when I started the rope dart. Have you seen me spin that? It's a fire toy. And it's like,
I haven't seen. I heard about you doing that because people told me that you're like, it's impressive, it's amazing.
So it's impressive now, but because I saw a friend of mine and he was spinning his practice one, and he does it professionally, and I was like, man, that's really cool. Like, that looks amazing. It's flowy, it looks difficult, it looks really challenging. And I was like, all right, I'm going to make myself a challenge that if I do this for at least 10 minutes a day, every day for a year, then how will I be after a year? And so I did that. Now it's been a year and a half. After a year, like first at the beginning, right? I sucked at it. I couldn't even do one move. And then it took me a week to get one move, and then a week to get another, and then a week to get two moves, and so forth and so forth. And then after about 4 months, I really understood all the individual moves. And then I started linking them together. And then that took me another few months to get that down. And then it took me another few months to really get it all flowing together, like everything working into everything happening. And then it clicked and I went, oh, I get this now. And I could start making up moves because I understood how it all operated, the principles behind it. And then once I got that, then it was like, oh my God, now I can dance and move my body with it. And so now I'm dancing and it's this entire choreography that happens. But if I hadn't done each stage, I would never have got there. And it's the same with every piece: meditation, breath work, writing out your goals, whatever it looks like, all these different tools and modalities that you can use. Pick one and do it consistently until you get it, and then add another. Like my whole journey, the way that it's changed is I operate where I change 3 habits at a time. So they're all at different stages. Because it takes 28 days to build a new habit if you've got emotion and energy and joy behind it. So I'll start with something. I'll be like, cool, I'm going to start paying attention to somebody's, the way that they speak, their intonation and their voice. And so I'll start paying attention to theirs, and I'll pay attention to mine in every conversation and everything that I'm doing relentlessly, 24/7, unless I'm asleep. And then I'm processing. But while I'm awake, I'm doing this 24/7. Like it's a part of who I'm becoming. It's an everyday, every moment thing. And then after a week of doing that, or 10 days of doing that, then I'll start a new habit. So this one's now, I don't have to think about it as much, but I still have to think about it. And then I'll bring in another habit, right? And it might be that I'm doing 10 minutes of meditation. So then I'm doing 10 minutes of meditation every single morning. And then once that gets up to 10 days, the first habit's now at 20 days. So it's at a later stage. And then I bring in another one. And then it just rotates like that. So I've always got 3 habits on the go, and I'm always creating a new thing.
Where were you always like getting inspiration for these things? Like, did you just like make it up? Like, how did you even come up with this stuff as a like healing modality? It sounds like you're such a self-learner. Like, how did you even like, no one does this. You know what I mean?
For me, it's just been like, I'm just innately curious and I want to know how, like I've always wanted to know how to be a good human being. Like I wanted to know how to navigate life, and I definitely didn't go down that path for a long time. But I was always listening to people's advice, and then I would try it on. So I'd hear what somebody said, I would try it on, and then if I didn't like it, I'd let it go. And if I did like it, I'd be like, yeah, this is cool. So when it comes to books, when it comes to like online courses or videos or whatever it may be, I'll hear someone say one thing and I'll take that and I'll go, do I really want it? Like, for example, right? I was reading a book, which is by Connor Gilden, and it's on Genghis Khan. And it's a fiction fact mixed together. But in that story, he talked about how the Mongolians, or how Genghis Khan took his sons into the ice water and sat in the ice water until the kids were like shivering, but he was calm and centered in it. So I was like, man, I'm going to do that. That sounds like a great idea. Like, and so that's when I started ice bars, right? Before Wim Hof, before all that. And then another piece in that book was that they would run and they would do these, to know that they were running properly and breathing properly, they would hold water in their mouth while they ran. And if they'd swallowed the water by the time they got back, they were disqualified. And so I started running with water in my mouth to practice breathing through my nose, because it just seemed like a good idea. Now I've done the research and I've found out how soon it is to breathe through your nose and not your mouth. And I've found out all this stuff about ice bars, but I'm like, I just take an idea and I just run with it. And then I see how I feel with it. If it feels good, I keep doing it. If it doesn't feel good, I let it go.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And a lot of the other parts is looking at everything that I do. And I'm like, I realized that I was a very codependent person, but I didn't have that languaging at the time. But I was like, what are the pieces of Garth that I don't like? I feel uncomfortable, I feel awkward, or I don't like about the way that I'm interacting with people. And I would just take that piece, I would isolate one piece of it, one conversation, where does that come from, and then change that one piece, and then another, so forth and so on. So
So what other maybe modalities, different techniques or things have you tried apart from running with the water in your mouth?
Oh God, so many. So
I know it's a process, and it's just, that's what I'm interested in. It's like for everyone it's unique, and it's almost like I even had people asking me for like, give me the blueprint. So what's the exact sequence of the things that you did? It's impossible, right? Because some things you don't even sort of realize that they made an impact, and then they suddenly have this butterfly effect on your progress. Yeah, but like anything that you feel is worth mentioning, or like the tools that you like to work with in the work that you do with guys.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I use a lot of modalities because I obsess about things, and I didn't want to go and get one certification and then be boxed into that. So
Right.
I decided to kind of do it in the reverse way, which is look at what they're doing and try and figure it out for myself, and then go and learn it so I get an even deeper understanding. So I've done that with NLP, with neuro-linguistic programming, with hypnotherapy. I've done that with tapping. I've done that with like meditations and breath work. You know, I've done heaps of different breath works, and then I go and practice them, and I do them for a time until I really understand that particular modality. And then I go to the next one, and then I take out my own pieces from it and put them together in a way, and I test that out for myself, and I'm like, oh, that was amazing.
Great.
I use a lot of things from Alison Armstrong's work when it comes to the masculine, feminine, understanding men and women, you know, and I've done other research to that as well in many different ways. But I love bringing the masculine feminine dynamic, how to hold yourself as a man, how to understand as a woman, how to drop into your feminine, and how to allow a man to be the man you want him to be. Yeah, so
Beautiful.
a lot of that. And then I've used the modalities of ayahuasca. I've sat in ceremony. I've sat in a ceremony with psilocybin or magic mushrooms. I've sat in ceremony with sapa or bufo frog. And if you are in any way questioning going to do ayahuasca or bufo frog, then please do not go and do it. Like
Totally.
sit with it. It's gonna, like, I say to a lot of my clients, they go, oh, I could go and do that. And I'm like, cool. That's why we're doing this work, because you need to understand how to process the things that come up, because there will be some beautiful and amazing shifts that can happen for you by using them as an assistance. And then you also need to do the everyday work. Otherwise, you'll just keep going back and going, I want more, I want more. And you don't need more. You just need that recognition.
Thank you for saying that. That's so important. I think in like, there's a bit of a hype around the spiritual work and personal development. So it's so important to acknowledge this and to kind of direct people in that respect.
Yeah, 100%. Like I recommend it for all people who feel called in their life, but to do your research and understand what you're going to do, because if you are not ready, it will tear your reality apart. If you don't have support around you for your integration period, then you may end up sitting in a mental institution. You know, like, because you understand reality in a different way, and because nobody else around you does, they think you're crazy. For me, after my first ayahuasca experience, I called a friend of mine who'd done ceremony before, and I said, he was like, how was your experience? And I was like, and he's like, yeah, I get it. And I was like, oh, I'm okay. Whew, all right. I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm not crazy. Cool.
So could you speak to the benefits of, let's say, the plant medicines, like the couple of these that you have just mentioned? Because a lot of people still, you know, it's such a big unknown for a lot of people, and it's only really entering the space of personal development now. Still not mainstream, but more people are opening to it.
Yeah. And if I may, like, even the term personal development to me makes me cringe, because I believe it's the process of personal discovery. You know, like for me, when I changed that in my mind from development to discovery, I was like, wow, this is way more exciting. Like, I'm just discovering who this guy is, and I'm excited. I always wanted to be an adventurer and an explorer as a kid. And so now I get to be that within here. I get to go into that jungle and discover who I am, rather than going, oh, you're not good enough, you need to be better, make yourself better. You know, rather than discovering, oh, this is a piece of me. Like, even with the development work, it's actually recognizing pieces that already exist within you and expressing them. And coming from that mentality, it's like, oh, so these amazing tools that I'm learning, You know,
Mm-hmm.
some people feel awkward about using them because it's not who they are. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, here's another opportunity for you to express who you are in new ways, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, and the reason I really share that now is because ayahuasca is a very large process of discovery. It's not going to develop you in any ways, but you will
Mm.
discover things about yourself and about reality that you can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and ayahuasca, she's a spirit, right? And we call it
Mm.
ayahuasca as the spirit of Aya, and she will take you where you need to go. My first
Mm.
experience, I said the intention, I want to go into that place where I feel like I can't get to through all the mind stuff, the breath work, everything else. I feel like there's a place within me that I
Mm.
haven't been able to access. I know that that is going to be uncomfortable, but I want to go there. And she took me there.
Great.
And
Beautiful.
oh yeah, and it was intense. It was, oh,
Yes.
oh. She tore me to pieces, and she showed me what
Mm.
was inside me that I hadn't been looking at, that I hadn't been seeing.
Mm.
And during the journey, some of the things that are the lessons is like, for me, I would be, it's a 5-hour journey, and I was lying there, and I'd be like, yeah, cool, can't move, lie here,
Mm.
be peaceful. Then get up, gotta move, can't stop moving. Like, gotta get up, no, gotta lie here, gotta lie here, gotta lie here. And up and down, up and down. And I was like compelled to move both ways. And what I realized is that in my life, that's how I live. Like, oh, I gotta settle down, I gotta have a house. Oh, I gotta get up and move, I gotta travel. Oh no, I gotta settle down.
Epic.
What do I want? And so recognizing that was huge, to go, oh my God, this is impacting my life like crazy.
Yeah.
And then being able to see that. But that's because of all the other work I've done with the
Mm.
mind stuff and the heart
Mm.
stuff, that I can recognize that. You know, our
Yeah.
shaman was a magical woman, and
Mm.
amazing shaman. And she represented the woman figures in my life, and how when
Mm.
I was like making noises and I was going like, like uncontrollably, and then I'd look over and
Mhm.
I'd be looking at her, and I'd be like looking at her for like a good boy, you're okay, don't worry, you're fine, it's okay.
Mhm.
And I kept looking to her for it, and I got to recognize that in my life I have had a lot of that happen, where I'd be looking for, it's okay, Garth, you're all right, keep going,
Yep.
rather than just being okay with not being okay. So
Mm.
those kind of
That's deep.
realizations that came through it.
Mhm.
And then there's the other part, which is the expansion into consciousness and understanding how confusing the laws of reality truly are, the laws of the universe,
Mhm.
that the mechanics of it, mechanics sounds logical, and it is logical, but it's beyond the
Yeah.
logic of the possible comprehension of the human brain. If you
Yeah.
try and figure it out and make it make sense, you
Mm.
will go crazy, because it doesn't make
Mm.
logical sense.
No,
So
especially in the linearity that we live and the way we comprehend even the
mm,
time, right? And the most of a way how the day develops, how our life evolves, and all of that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, for
100%.
sure.
And I'd recommend,
Mhm.
like, if you haven't done anything yet, then start with
Mhm.
a proper, well-held ceremony with mushrooms or psilocybin. Like,
Mm.
I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you have gone and done your research, talk to your physician
Mm.
or whatever else. Um,
Mm.
but it's important to have a set and setting that is great. Set of your intention. Your intention
Mhm.
matters. If your
Yeah.
intention is to get messed up, then that's what's going to happen. If your
Mhm.
intention is to
Mhm.
go on a self-discovery journey and show me what I need to see,
Mm.
you'll be shown what you need to see, not necessarily what you want to see. And
Beautiful.
setting a clear intention, and the setting is the space that's being held. Who's it being held by? Is it actually a safe place that they're going to look after you, care for you? Are you
Mm.
in a place where there's going to be other good energies around you of other people? You know, medically, are you
Mm.
going to be looked after? If anything were to possibly arise, are you going to be looked after there? Is this
Mm.
person well experienced? Are they going to guide you in a way that you know that you're safe?
Mm.
Yeah, and music and blankets and all the nice stuff that
Mhm.
makes it feel like a beautiful experience, so that you can truly
Mm.
access the goodness of it.
Wow. That's like when I'm
Yeah.
listening to you, I'm just realizing how different this approach is to the traditional Western medicine and the approach to treating any kind of illnesses, whether it's physical or mental. You know, you're giving some drugs and off you go, and then we're not really making connections between the environment, the support that you might or might not have, the other things that you're taking, your nutrition, your, you know, physical state, and all of those things. So this feels a lot more supported and sacred, almost, I would say. Just sounds so beautiful. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
great.
and the ceremony, I believe, is half of it. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
for me, when I sit down and drink cacao, every time
Mm,
I make cacao, I have a little
yeah,
ceremony that goes with it. I sing to
yeah,
my cacao so that I'm present with it, you know,
yeah.
and I sit down so that I'm not just drinking hot chocolate. I'm sitting
Mm,
down with intention, and I'm like, oh, wow, cacao. Like, and I'm
mm,
just like go into my heart, and then I receive it. And then it's like opens my heart because that was my intention. And I sat with it and I took the
mm.
time, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
It's really honoring that process of self-discovery, as you said, and it feels appropriate to have a ceremony or a ritual around it. Yeah. So good. I also did a really quick time
Ah.
check, and just acknowledging that we have about 5 minutes left. So I really want to, this is important, you know, what we're going to dedicate this time
Cool.
to. I really feel a strong pull towards this, like when you're mentioning what it means even to know yourself and this process of self-discovery, and when you mentioned the rites of passage for men, and you know, like even knowing who are men and women, could you speak to that, and what is the work that you do there? Like what was this like exciting stuff around that? Like what is it even like? People don't even know that, you know, people think that, okay, I'm 18, I'm a man. So
Cool.
yeah, it's a bit of a mind fuck. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So here's a really simple way to look at it. And I'll talk it in the
Mm,
context of men because that's where I've spent most of my time researching
mm,
and working with. So
mm,
a boy is looked after. If you have a tribe, right? A boy is looked after by the tribe. The tribe is responsible for him. When he becomes a man, he is now responsible for the tribe as well. He's part of a functioning member of the ones who are responsible for others, not just himself. And so basically that's a really basic way of saying what an initiation is being able to go from, oh, I'm at this stage in my life, and then being taken out, you're taken, removed from your current reality, your
mm,
current space. You know, in Africa, they would take, the men would come in the middle of the night and they'd make this big drama out of it, which was actually a bit of theater that they put on, where they would rip the boy out of his room with his mother, and his mom would go, oh
right.
no, don't take my boy. Oh no. Then afterwards she'd say to her friends, like, was I believable? And then they would take the boy away for, you
Love
know,
it.
like a week or a month or a couple of months or a
Yeah.
couple of years in some places or longer. And they would be
Mm,
assimilated with the other men so that they would learn just how to be a man, what that actually means. You know, they would
mm-hmm,
get that opportunity to
mm,
be around men who are living that way, and then they would be reintegrated with a new set of clothing, a new set of beliefs, a new way of being, so that they could
mm,
then be responsible for the tribe. A boy looks
mm,
for a mother, a man looks for a partner. In our world today, we have a lot of men who are boys. You know, they're looking for a mother. They want her to solve his problems. They want her to make all of the decisions. They want her to choose what he's going to wear today. You know, or he'll listen to what she has to say, like, oh, babe, I like it when you wear this. Oh, I'm going to wear this stuff for you then. Whereas a man is like, no, this is what I wear because this is what makes me feel comfortable. And I like that. Deal with it, you know, basically.
mm.
So,
Yeah.
and in a nutshell, yeah, a wedding is a rite of passage. It's one that is still part of our society today, where you're taken out of
Mm-hmm.
your normal life, you're put into special garb or special clothing that you'll never wear again, probably.
Yep.
And then you stand there, you go through an initiation process or a ceremony where you have the
Mm,
matrimony, and then you stand up in front of everybody to be recognized by the people that were there to care for you. They give you advice, they tell you some of the challenges that you're going to face along the way, and they support you in that transition. A little bit different to what it may used to have been like. It's maybe not so valuable now, but essentially
mm,
it is a rite of passage in itself. So
mm-hmm.
that's kind of it. And then what we do is, yeah, we go out, we take you out of your normal environment, we take you away from your normal identity. As the men come
Mm-hmm.
out, it's a time, and we say to them, here's an opportunity to release from the you that came here, and then
Mm,
go into the space of the transition, we call it, And the
Mm.
transition is that time in between where you're in no place, no person, no land, and you're just discovering about the
Mm-hmm.
man that's underneath the mask, the man that lies behind, so that you can then come back into your name and to your identity as a new person. But first you need to let go of who you were so you can become who you are.
Amazing.
And we do
Epic.
lots of challenges. Wisdom, I believe, comes from
Mm.
knowledge and action taken together, not like an insight and an experience and your knowledge coming together.
Mm-hmm.
That synthesized creates wisdom. So we create challenges, we give knowledge, and all of it comes together in a beautiful way so that you can live better, not only
Mm.
have a better experience, but live better as well. So
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. What are you hearing from men who go through your retreats and um, are, you guys are journeying together? What is the impact on their lives? What changes
um,
for them?
what changes for them is just a deeper sense of knowing who they are and standing for themselves
Mm.
and standing for,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like, it's not like, oh yeah, this has changed and this has changed in my life, but they walk out and then people say to them, wow, you're different. What changed? And then they go, oh, I went to the Master Men or with Voyage Men,
Mm.
and they're just different. They know themselves better and they hold themselves instead of getting blown
Mm.
around by the world.
Yeah.
They know who they are in the world and they're like, cool, I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then they show up in every area of their life. They take more action in a way that synthesizes rather than just taking action for achievement and validation. They're taking action because they're inspired, whilst also understanding what a great life looks like and designing
Mm.
that where they're looking after themselves in all these other areas too. Um, yeah, I organize all of the nutrition for the camp as well so that
Mm.
they don't have to think about it. And I say to them, if you want to get the most out of this, eat with this nutrition. And then they realize, oh my God, I don't need as much food. Oh my God, if I eat the right stuff, I feel
Mm-hmm.
amazing. How do I have
Yeah.
so much energy this whole time? And on and
Yeah.
on and on and on.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I knew we would come full circle because this really is coming back to the very origin of, also burnout and this work. I call it more play rather than work that we all do. Um,
Yeah.
Discovering the self and questioning everything around. And then I love when you talk about the creation, the inspiration that comes from within rather than trying to like check all the boxes on the outside. Um, yeah, that empowering feeling that this is who I am and I stand for it and it's okay. And this is what I can bring to the world.
Like
Ooh,
one
amazing.
big thing with that I'd love to share really, really quickly is that what I've
Yeah.
realized is not everyone likes me. I used to only want to be accepted by everybody all the time. I wanted
Mm,
everybody to love me. Now I realize with my intensity and way of being, people are like, oh, we'd love to have you around, Garth. And then I come around and then I'm just
mm,
like, this is who I am. And they go, Garth, can we just like not do thing? I'm like, no, this is who I am and what I do.
yeah.
If you can only handle me for 10 minutes, I'm okay with that. But I
Mm-hmm.
need to, this is my life, how I'm living. And if you like spending time with me, those people that connect, we'll spend a lot of time together. And those that can handle me for 10 minutes, cool. I love you for 10 minutes. And then I'm out of
Mm,
here,
beautiful.
I own
Beautiful.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. You did mention a few of those patterns that are associated with burnout, like the type A personality, people pleasing, even the codependency. And yeah, there's a bunch of those things when you're sort of like striving for perfection and never really arriving. And yeah, it just feels really good to see how you have your own way of just addressing these things and exploring and inspiring other people and taking them on a journey. Yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. I want to give you a big shout out for the amazing work that you do, Garth. I really admire you and I really appreciate everything that you do. You're such an inspiration. And I can't wait to see you in person again and give you a
Oh,
big hug.
I know. I'm so excited. One day
Mm,
soon, my friend. Yeah. Thank
mm-hmm.
you for speaking into the burnout and creating such an opportunity for people to come together to learn how to shift that, and you're
Mm,
creating the programs around it too, which I love, giving people those strategies to actually be able to create a
mm.
life worth living. So it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. We're in this together. Yes.
Yeah. Ow!
Yoo-hoo! Amazing. Woohoo! Totally. Thank you so much. I knew it was going to be amazing. It was beyond that. So thank you so, so much.
Such an honor, my friend.
It's a pleasure. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.